doing this to myself because I thought it would be funny? But why really? Maybe it's a perfect encapsulation of my internal contradiction, my Eros and Thanatos, my drive to preserve and perfect the body, and my drive towards self-destruction. Maybe it's because I'm worried I'm just a sideshow performer, a clown that feels she needs to hurt and humiliate herself for money. And why is this so damn entertaining anyway? To hurt and to witness hurt. Why do we love pain? Hi, I'm Hoots, this is my channel, and today I'm running the beer mile.
On your mark, get set, hold on, let me hit it, go.
Fuck, already fucking up. Oh god, oh god. Okay, the burp felt good. Simply put, the beer mile is an athletic challenge. It's a mile run for time, but during the course of that mile, you must also chug 4 12-ounce beers at 5% ABV or higher. One before you start running, one at the quarter-mile mark, one at the half-mile mark, and one at the three-quarter-mile mark. If you vomit at any point during the race, you have to run a penalty lap. I'm not going to say don't try this at home because the beer mile actually is an officially sanctioned event. It's something that athletes of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities have participated in and lived to tell the tale, if a little woozily. But maybe only try this if you're sturdy. I'd only recommend it if running and drinking are both already parts of your routine and you have a high threshold for discomfort and shame. The beer mile started out, as these things often do, as a stupid challenge that a bunch of kids came up with in Toronto in the summer of 1989. Among them was future Olympian Graham Hood, who was not very good at keeping his beers down, so when the beer mile became more of a recognized thing in the early 1990s, one of the first pieces of beer mile merch was a top 10 reasons to run the beer mile t-shirt, with number 6 being, "It's the only mile where just about anybody could beat Graham Hood." Today, the beer mile is a fully recognized race that sees the participation of amateurs and elites alike. There's official rules and even an annual world championship race. Some of the times posted by the elites are dizzying. Corey Belmore currently holds the men's world record at 4 minutes 27 seconds. Somewhat controversially, Shelby Houlihan holds the women's world record from her performance at the 2023 Beer Mile World Classic, which she ran during her 4-year doping ban. She remains one of only 2 female beer milers to break 6 minutes at 5 minutes 43 seconds. The other is her countrywoman and second fastest female beer miler, Elizabeth Lassiter, with a time of 5 minutes 56 seconds. BeerMile.com, the official Beer Mile website, produced a short documentary about the 2023 World Championship. It's very entertaining, and I'll link it in the description. I had first heard about the Beer Mile in a write-up in an issue of Runner's World more than a decade ago, around the time I had really started getting into running myself. I've never been much of a speed girly, but I got into distance running in 2013 and ran my first marathon in January of 2014. Like all endurance athletes, I have a strong masochistic streak, so when I read about the beer mile, I was like, sounds awful. I've got to do that someday. Throughout the years, like many runners, I've had my fair share of hiatuses, culminating in last year. Toward the end of 2023 and into the middle of 2024, I got really dedicated to running again. I was getting into some of the best shape of my life in terms of endurance and speed. Then I suffered some overuse injuries that resulted in taking some time off, a lot of time off, and when I came back, I just wasn't in the same rhythm again. I'd lost some fitness and put on some weight, and then I put on a lot more weight. And when I went out for my runs, I discovered that an effort that felt like I was running an 8.5-minute mile was really me running an 11-minute mile. It was what we in the biz call a real wake-up call. So what better way to whip myself back into shape than to train for a stupid stunt for a video? Between autumn and winter 2025, I got back into the groove with my running training. I even got some of my speed back in spite of the extra 20-ish pounds I'm lugging around. But I knew that would be the easy part of this challenge. I like running. What I don't like is chugging. I can run like a pretty fast mile. Like I'm pretty out of shape right now, but like if you gave me like a month to kind of get back into shape, I could probably run like a 7-minute mile. But I cannot chug any kind of beverage. Like if I'm like at a bar and I order a drink and my friends say like finish your drink, we're moving on to somewhere else, I'm like, well, I'm gonna lose this money or I'm gonna like throw up this drink. Like I can't chug any drink, and I especially cannot drink beers quickly. Like it takes me like an hour to finish a beer. So that is where the beer mile is gonna fuck me. So we're starting small. This is a hot water. We're not even starting with a beer. We're starting with a warm hot water. And I'm gonna work my way up to chugging beers. Baby, can you time me?
You got it. Hold on. Kick it.
Oh my god, I'm good. I literally can't do it.
You got it.
I'm like down to there. Okay. This is horrible. Oh! 'Oh my god, I'm gonna throw up! Huh!
Okay. Time.
53 seconds. Oh my god, I'm gonna throw up. Oh my god. Fuck! From hop-flavored sparkling waters, I progressed to non-alcoholic beers. I just did a little speed session in the gym, and I'm gonna do some chugging training. This is an Athletic Brewing non-alcoholic IPA. Not sponsored by them, but Athletic, if you want to sponsor me, this is one of the only non-alcoholic beverages, alcoholic substitutes that I think is actually good. All right, let's go. Fuck, it's cold. Oh, it's good though. Almost there. I mean,
Time.
there was a little fluff. Okay. I'm gonna go take a shower. I hated chug training, so I didn't even end up progressing to the real stuff until race day. I told myself and my boyfriend that it would make for more interesting content if the first real beers I chugged were during the race, but it was because I didn't want to carve time out of my day to practice chugging beers. And in doing so, I made my life much, much harder. Even though I practiced with cans, at my boyfriend's suggestion, I decided to use bottles on race day as they are easier to chug and still within the rules. The craft brews and IPAs I normally drink were far too heavy for this challenge, so I needed to opt for a lager. Coors Banquet, baby! Lukewarm Coors Banquet, because chilled beverages are more carbonated, which makes them harder to chug. What have I gotten myself into this time? The Canadian track athletes that came up with the beer mile as a stupid way to get drunk in August of 1989 quickly discovered that it wasn't just that, but it was also a great competition, as it turned out to be a formidable test of one's grit, and of something runners in particular love to play with: one's tolerance of pain. And that is at the heart of today's video: pain. Yes, you're gonna see me cry and laugh and limp and vomit, and I'm gonna tell you what my beer mile results were. Spoiler alert, they were bad. But what I want to talk about is why I like hurting myself, why lots of us do, and why you, the little sickos watching this on your couch at home, enjoy watching other people hurt themselves. You clicked on this video for a reason, you kept watching past the cold open, and now you're a part of this thing too. So, crack a beer. Or maybe a beverage I won't be shortly regurgitating, and settle in for an examination of pain. No matter how much money I make, I just can't seem to hang on to it. After bills, food, and the dozen or so little treats I give myself every month, my checking and savings account always seemed to dwindle down to zero. So when Rocket Money reached out to me about a potential sponsorship, I was like, you know what the hell, let's try this thing. And I'm actually very glad that they did. So this video is sponsored by Rocket Money, by the way. You're probably already familiar with Rocket Money. It's the app that helps you track your recurring subscriptions and can even cancel many of them on your behalf. But what I didn't know is that it actually does so much more than that. Rocket Money is an all-in-one finance app where you can track your bills, spending, and even your credit score. And beyond canceling your unused subscriptions, Rocket Money can even renegotiate some of your bills for you. The first day I signed up, Rocket Money unsubscribed me from a pretty expensive magazine subscription I wasn't using and renegotiated $30 off my monthly phone bill. That's over $300 a year saved, and I didn't even have to do anything. Rocket Money is completely free to download, but you can get a free premium trial when you sign up with my link. Go to rocketmoney.com/hootshootman or click the link in my description. Thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to see ad-free versions of this and all of my videos, become a patron with Patreon or join my channel members today. Patrons and channel members also get access to my sidebars, which are short bonus videos that for whatever reason I don't want to put on the main feed. This month's video is Stardew Valley themed because it's my birthday month and Stardew is my favorite game. Simply head to patreon.com/littlehoot and sign up or scroll on down to the description and hit join today. Fuck. I should do another one. Fuck. Oh, fuck. I want to throw up. There is no one pain center of the brain. Actually, the experience of pain is an intricate ballet involving many different parts of the brain and the nervous system. First, a part of your body has to register stimuli that it deems worthy of ringing the alarm bells in your brain. These signals are carried via electric current generated by nerve cells called nociceptors. From here, the pineal gland, a part of your brain's hippocampus, might go to work releasing endogenous morphine, or endorphins. Endorphins also stimulate the brain's limbic and prefrontal regions, areas of the brain also stimulated when you're listening to music or falling in love. Anandamide and good old-fashioned adrenaline may also be released by the body's endocannabinoid system and adrenal glands, respectively. Anandamide gets its name from the Sanskrit word for bliss and induces a warm, fuzzy feeling not dissimilar to actual marijuana. Adrenaline boosts your heart rate, which can invigorate you if you're running a stupid beer mile or injured and running away from a cocaine bear. Speaking of running from a cocaine bear, pain is an incredibly subjective experience, in part because the context of pain informs so much of the brain's response to external stimuli. The emotional arousal you experience while you're running from the cocaine bear actually raises your pain threshold. This increased tolerance for pain, combined with the release of your body's natural opiates, might make the physical stress of running and any injuries sustained by said cocaine bear more, for lack of a better word, bearable. Once you're out of danger, your body's delayed pain response will start reacting to the lactic acid buildup in your calves and your gored flesh, letting you know that there is a new threat that must be addressed. The subjective experience of pain is also strongly tied to memory and agency. As Dr. Will Hamilton, a psychologist who specializes in chronic pain, told Lee Cowart, author of Hurt So Good, The Science and Culture of Pain on Purpose, the subjective experience of pain is this mixture of things where it has to do with the intensity of the sensation itself and what the person's overall activation is, how threatened they are, what their emotional state is, and do they feel there is something they can respond to it effectively with. Consider how different getting whipped with a towel feels when you're having a friendly game of ass whip in the locker room versus when someone just does it out of nowhere while you aren't paying attention. Or like when I get a dull headache and realize after several minutes or hours that the ibuprofen I took hasn't gotten rid of it, it suddenly feels like a much more intense headache than it did before I responded intellectually and emotionally to the forever headache. Interestingly, the link between pain and emotional state runs the other way too. Some emotions can literally feel physically painful, and you can even treat some emotional pains with over-the-counter painkillers like paracetamol. I learned that fact from an episode of Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast like 10 years ago, which is very embarrassing for me, but it's also repeated in a BBC article from 2015 titled Why Pain Feels Good. Managing emotional responses to physical pain are also among the strategies employed with chronic pain patients, precisely because emotions have such a profound effect on the perception of pain. But the mind's perception of pain isn't just influenced by the emotional arousal of immediate danger. In an interview with Lee Cowart, neuropsychologist Dr. Jens Foel said sexual arousal, being in a war zone, being in love, just being emotionally invested in something, all of that would raise the pain threshold. Perhaps unsurprisingly to anyone who regularly participates in the BDSM scene, brain scans of people who are emotionally invested or sexually aroused show that they respond to painful stimuli with a higher pain threshold than people given the same stimuli who aren't in that state. And something about this increased tolerance, combined with the chemical reward system of the brain, and any combination of a myriad of social, cultural, inter- and intrapersonal forces can cause some people, hell, most people in one way or another, to seek out painful experiences for pleasure. The word masochism may conjure images of a businessman wearing a diaper being smacked on the bottom and humiliated by a dominatrix, but it could also describe people who run marathons, skydive, or eat spicy food. It's the deliberate pursuit of discomfort in order to experience pleasure. And it's a uniquely human experience. In the aforementioned BBC article, Why Pain Feels Good, Zaria Gorvit points out that scientists have tried and failed to induce a preference for chili in rats. Animals have been trained to self-harm, but only by positive reinforcement, in which animals are taught to associate pain with a reward. Generally, when an animal experiences something negative, it avoids it, explains Paul Rosen from the University of Pennsylvania. If an animal took a roller coaster, it would be scared, and it would never go again. But humans seek out all kinds of unpleasant experiences in order to hack our brain's various reward centers, or perhaps to experience the relief of cessation of pain, fear, or sadness. The feeling can be so intense that masochistic rituals are also deeply entrenched in many of our social and religious practices. Think of the masochistic themes that dominate most forms of Christianity, or the break them down to build them back up again mentality of the military, or the Protestant work ethic. Humanity loves to suffer and to be brought together and into some sense of the divine by suffering. Lee Cowart again. There is powerful bonding to be found when pain is shared, and humans know it. Think about all the rituals that involve pain, from religious flagellation to frat hazing. I got a beer and some apple tofu. Masochism runs the gamut of human experiences, from the relatively tame, watching the first 10 minutes of Pixar's Up, to the very extreme, the BME Pain Olympics. But the theory of benign masochism, proposed in a 2012 paper titled Glad to be Sad and Other Examples of Benign Masochism, posits that human beings experience a kind of hedonic reversal when it comes to unpleasant experiences in which the subject understands that they're safe from any real harm. Like eating this spicy food. I know that my mouth isn't literally on fire, even though my brain is receiving pain signals from my tongue. And the pleasant unpleasantness is something that I've not only built a tolerance to, but something that I seek out again and again. A sidebar, do you know what a Scoville unit even is? It's the unit of determining spiciness. Yes, obviously. This probably isn't actually that many Scovilles. It's pretty tame. But do you know how a Scoville is actually determined? They literally just dry and grind up whatever pepper they're testing, soak the dried pepper powder in alcohol, then mix smaller and smaller amounts of the dried pepper solution in a mixture of water and sugar until taste testers can no longer detect any spiciness. I'm tickled by how obvious and simple it is, if a little disillusioned by the test's subjectivity. The test was invented by Wilbur Scoville in 1921, hence the name. Wilbur's. Interestingly, Glad to be Sad, which looked at everything from bitter and spicy tastes to sad movies to fear to physical exhaustion and, yes, pain, found that the most pleasurable part of an unpleasant experience for a given subject was the most extreme part they could stand. It also found that women liked sad movies more. You could speculate that this pain-seeking is just a rudimentary form of biohacking, enduring minor forms of pain to access our naturally derived opioids and cannabinoids, or the release of some kind of psychological muscle following a controlled period of metaphysical pummeling. But it's more than that. Something about the intermingling of pleasure and pain is a deep part of the human psyche, or it may be something mysterious and intrinsic to our very anatomy. From the BBC article again, one study in which researchers used fMRI to visualize the brains of women as they stimulated themselves to climax found that more than 30 areas of the brain were active, including those involved in pain. Another found that cancer survivors who had nerves in their spinal cord cut to relieve chronic abdominal pain lost the ability to have orgasms. If their pain returned, so did the orgasms. Again, there's no one pain center of the brain. It's not like you can just point to a map of the human brain and say, well, the pain and reward centers are located in a similar region, therefore. But it does seem to be the case for all of us, to varying degrees, that if we want to feel good, we also have to feel a little bad. But you know what can feel even better than feeling bad? Seeing someone else feel worse. Where's the, thanks, babe. Oh, how do people do this? The English language has no word for happiness at the misfortune of others, because the Anglosphere is primarily made up of shameful liars and cowards. But we've borrowed the German word for when anyone brings up the subject. Schadenfreude first appeared in English writing in 1853, and we spent the next 2 centuries humming and hawing over our intrinsic wickedness and desperately trying to defend and explain away the human impulse to take pleasure in another person's pain. R.C. Trench, the Archbishop of Dublin, described the very existence of the word Schadenfreude as a mournful record of the strange wickednesses which the genius of man, so fertile in evil, has invented. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer called it an infallible sign of a thoroughly bad heart and profound moral worthlessness. In The Joy of Pain, Schadenfreude and the Dark Side of Human Nature, social psychologist Richard H. Smith connects Schadenfreude to humanity's innate tendency to identify with in-groups and out-groups, and the sense of tension and competition that arises from these categories. Human beings have an inbuilt tendency to categorize themselves and others into in-groups or out-groups. Why do we do this? One reason is that it helps us achieve a useful clarity and certainty about our self-concept. Richard H. Smith and Tiffany Watt-Smith, no relation, author of Schadenfreude, The Joy of Another's Misfortune, both point to a famous study of German football fans. That's soccer for my fellow Americans. The psychologists who worked on the study used electromyography to measure changes in the facial muscles of the German fans while they were watching a game against a rival Dutch team. The psychologists found that when the Dutch missed a goal, the German fans' smiles appeared more quickly and were broader than when the German team scored a goal themselves. But why would the Dutch team's losses bring the German fans more joy than the German team's victories? Richard H. Smith points to another psychologist, Thomas Will's work on the concept of downward comparison in human psychology. Normally, we feel uncomfortable observing someone suffering. However, Wills argues that our preferences change when we have suffered, our self-esteem has taken a hit, or we are chronically low in self-esteem. Under these conditions, comparing with someone just as unfortunate, or even better, with someone who is less fortunate, has restorative power. A full century before the Germans even came up with a term for it, 17th century moralist François de la Rochefoucauld noted humanity's delight in the misfortune of others. If we had no faults of our own, we would not take so much pleasure in noticing those of others. According to psychologist Thomas Wills, downward comparisons tend to be directed at people of lower status or safe targets who are acceptable to derogate because particular cultural norms seem to give the behavior a free pass. Richard H. Smith points out that a lot of comedy stems from downward comparison, usually at the expense of marginalized groups. In more recent, enlightened years, we've somewhat moved away from punching down in humor and gossip, which is part of the reason we're living in the hellscape backlash era we're in now. But among the groups that have always been considered worthy targets of Schadenfreude are hypocrites and assholes. As Immanuel Kant once pointed out, when someone who delights in annoying and vexing peace-loving folk receives at last a right good beating, it is certainly an ill, but everyone approves of it and considers it as good in itself, even if nothing further results from it. We love seeing a villain get their ass beat. It's like the basis of half of reality TV. And also those weird staged TikToks where some guy pretending to be Chris Hansen catches predators in Walmart parking lots and breaks watermelons over their heads or whatever. You either know exactly what I'm referring to right now or you think I sound insane, but I am not posting an example on screen because these people need therapy, not more attention. But what feels even more delicious than a villain getting their comeuppance is a holier-than-thou villain getting their comeuppance. The mere existence of people we see as our superiors, especially our moral superiors, wounds our egos. And it feels good to see someone we compare ourselves negatively to knocked down a peg. Stanford University social psychologist Benoit Monin has found that the presence of a vegetarian can make an omnivore self-conscious. Which is why in Avenue Q, Nikki the Puppet and actual human person Gary Coleman delight in watching a vegetarian being told she just ate chicken, or watching a frat boy realize just what he put his dick in. An Avenue Q reference in 2026. I am very old. The Schadenfreude we experience at the misfortunes of people we perceive to be higher up the moral totem pole from us is especially sweet if their humiliation reveals that the holier-than-thous really haven't been so holy after all. Hypocrites often set themselves up as morally superior, forcing imperfect people around them to ponder their relative moral inferiority. Thus, even before their hypocritical behavior comes to light, hypocrites can be an irritating, disagreeable presence. A revelation of hypocrisy also gives us a sort of permission to feel self-righteous in our Schadenfreude. It is no longer a sign of our own weakness or fallibility, but a delicious reminder that we were right to hate that stuck-up bitch all along. We call it poetic justice. We call it karma, and it is both a cat purring in Taylor's lap and Chapel's kink. Gaylor's lock-in. There's an underlying theme of contempt and smugness in all of the examples and characteristics of Schadenfreude outlined in both Smith books, and also very valiant attempts to identify at which point these darker sides of our nature need to be curtailed, and what amount of healthy contempt is all in good fun. But I feel like there is an entire subcategory of delight in the pain of others that has been conspicuously absent from the discourse. I want to call this benign Schadenfreude. In Hurt So Good, Lee Cowart points out that humans love to watch other humans suffer. Football, boxing, MMA, rodeo, ballet, America's Funniest Home Videos, Jackass, horror movies, even just the potential for a car crash at a NASCAR race is enough to draw viewership. And boy howdy does a pepper-eating competition offer a gentle, safe way to indulge in such voyeurism. It's also fucking impressive. It's not a passive pain we're watching. We are watching active, chosen pain. These people can stop at any time. Their suffering is not outside of their control. Ergo, I can watch it with moral impunity. When I watch videos of people struggling to get over the finish line during their first marathon, I get a lump in my throat and an intense feeling of camaraderie. I empathize with the physical and psychological pain they're feeling, and what's more, I get a kind of thrill, an emotional high from experiencing their ordeal vicariously. I experience deep emotional pleasure witnessing another's pain. As a child in the 1990s and early 2000s, I grew up watching Jackass, the show where Johnny Knoxville and all of his friends hurt themselves doing wacky stunts for the entertainment of the faceless millions watching at home. Yes, it was very funny, but I don't think people were tuning in out of a contemptuous desire to see Bam Margera finally get what was coming to him. Nor do I think the vast majority of the people enjoying watching me suffer through the beer mile are doing so because of some kind of resentment of me. I mean, some of them definitely are, and I'm sure their comments about my looks and opinions are piling up in my hidden comments folder as I speak. But the majority aren't. And yet, they're still deriving pleasure from my pain. That's Schadenfreude, baby. And it can be thrilling and inspiring. I'm choosing to define benign Schadenfreude as vicarious benign masochism that can be empathetic or voyeuristic or some combination of the two, and I think it's usually some combination of the two. In her book, Tiffany Watt-Smith says Schadenfreude has variously been called the absence of empathy, the opposite of empathy, and empathy's shadow, casting the two as fundamentally incompatible, which I found particularly annoying because, first of all, she includes no citations, and when I tried to Google those terms, nothing at all about Schadenfreude came up. The ethical standards in the pop psych aisle of your average bookstore are lower than most YouTube videos post H-Bomber guy. No sources, just vibes. Schadenfreude is the absence of empathy. Many people are saying this. The second reason I found this quote annoying is that if anybody is calling Schadenfreude empathy's shadow, then I think it would be a misreading to say that they are casting Schadenfreude as fundamentally incompatible with empathy. Are they not rather identifying Schadenfreude as an intrinsic part of empathy? The dark part? Like empathy's yin? And this, as a concept, I think is a lot closer to the root of all forms of Schadenfreude, but especially benign Schadenfreude. When you're watching a celebrity sweat their way through an interview on Hot Ones, whether you feel contempt for that celebrity or not, you're experiencing a kind of empathetic reaction to their pain. We may not have all tried a hot sauce made from Carolina Reapers before, but we've almost all had spicy food at one point or another in our lives, and there's something thrilling and voyeuristic about watching someone experience a kind of pain that is familiar to us. Or, with Jackass, a kind of pain that may not be familiar to us. Few of us will ever be knocked clean out in a department store by professional boxer Butterbean, but we get to experience some part of it vicariously through Johnny Knoxville. And we get to experience a little rush of victory when Knoxville asks,
"Is Butterbean okay?"
Now that is fucking comedy gold. That is a reversal of expectations. Johnny Knoxville, they could never make me hate you. Far from feeling contempt for the Jackass boys, many people my age were inspired enough by them to stage their own copycat stunts. And we see the same dynamic playing out in social media stunts, like the Tide Pod Challenge, or Benadryl Challenge, or whatever it is kids are hurting themselves with at the time that you're watching this video. And I think these forms of humilitainment get views, not just because people want to point and laugh at a train wreck, but because on some level, many of us like to imagine being on the train. Benign Schadenfreude allows us a degree of safety that goes even a step further than benign masochism. We get to experience the thrill and catharsis of pain vicariously, using only our human capacity for empathy, without ever having to experience a physical stimulus at all. It's a no-risk, all-reward form of masochistic indulgence. Fuck. Time around my mile, and then tell me what it is when I get back from my class. Fucking left knee is killing me. My runner's knee is killing me because I did a speed session this morning, and I'm also probably not running with great technique right now. Just keep going. Just keep going. Fuck. I need to. Running feels better. Fuck. Not for the camera. I did something to fuck up my knee earlier, and I'm just gonna finish. I'm gonna put a bag of frozen peas on it when we get home. Maybe take a long bath. But that was my beer run. Tiffany Watt-Smith linked Schadenfreude to something akin to gallows humor, a dark side of the human psyche, but one in which we find a strange sort of camaraderie. Schadenfreude might seem malicious, but when we look more closely, a far more complex emotional landscape emerges. A superior smirk is revealed as a sign of vulnerability. What might seem a sort of hate may really be a conflicted kind of love and a desire to belong. What perks us up when we hear news of someone else's misfortune is the discovery that we are not alone in our disappointments, but are part of a community of the failed. I like this humane reading of the seemingly cruel, contemptuous aspects of Schadenfreude, and I'd like to sort of yes-and her depiction of a more complex emotional landscape as it pertains to Masochism and Benign Schadenfreude. For better or for worse, pain is an integral part of how we humans experience pleasure. We take pleasure in the pain we experience ourselves, and we take pleasure in the pain of others. Without pain, we wouldn't fully enjoy this dense and complicated tapestry called the human experience. Without empathy, we wouldn't enjoy the safe thrills of witnessing the pain experienced by others. Benign masochism, seeking out certain types of safe pain, has been demonstrated to be a uniquely human behavior. So, when we are engaging in benign Schadenfreude, we are vicariously experiencing something deeply human. Every sweaty bite, every crotch shot, every welt we see forming upon another's skin, every euphoric, empathetic wince is an expression of our shared humanity. We think to ourselves, that's the good pain. The bad good pain. I know that pain. I've felt that pain. And I know how dizzy and shitty and happy you're feeling right now. And it makes me feel good too.
That was my beer run. That was my beer run. Was that bad?
No, he's gonna attack the bear. He's the cocaine bear. Oh no, this is not going the way I planned. Oh
The bears.
no. Oh
So I'm not the. Okay, hold on. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
no. Are you the vicious cocaine bear? Oh no. Oh no. This is not going the way I planned. Barney, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. He's like, give me the toy. The vicious cocaine bear. Okay, so it didn't go the way I planned. Hey, Barney. Maybe this will be my, these will be the credits. The little bloopers at the end. Okay. This vicious beast wants to steal this poor gerbil's pizza. Run away! Nobody! Oh. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He died.
What's up? Did you just take a shit while I was trying to edit? Did you make it smell really bad in Mom's office? Did you do it on purpose? You don't look at me while I'm talking to you? Goblin. 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 You know I'm talking to you.